Hello, hello. Um, I want to talk a little bit about Ritalin as a medication for ADHD and trying to help people like me make their days a little bit more easy to deal with. Um, I've only recently tried Ritalin for the first time, actually a week ago, and I had no idea the difference that it can make. Um, I was diagnosed with ADHD as a teenager. I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder relatively recently last year, and I've never tried any medication like Ritalin before until my psychiatrist prescribed it to me just a couple weeks ago, and then last week I finally tried it, and it's. I had no idea. I had no idea that it was possible for a brain to be so calm on the inside and for focusing to be so easy. Um, I've never experienced focus as something that is easy to achieve. I've either managed to force myself to focus, but really struggled and having to redirect myself every time I got distracted, or I just have a day where I'm so distractible that I really cannot do anything. And I end up just setting up my stuff, starting to work on something, and then realizing 3 hours later that I went to the bathroom and then I got distracted and then I went to do something else and then suddenly I don't know, coloring in my coloring book and I'm like, what was I doing earlier? And then I realized I was trying to work on my coursework or things that require focus. Um, I I think it would have been easier to get through school and university if I already had this medication, but at the end of the day, I did get through it with first class honors and distinction, and I learned. I'm not saying that concentration is something you can just force yourself to achieve because it's not at all like that. It isn't a problem of effort on the part of people who have ADHD or similar conditions. Um, it's just that I've managed to find enough coping mechanisms that I was able to at least apply myself enough to to get my work done in the end. Although it was very stressful because my best work is done under extremely stressful conditions. I would leave things until the last minute because I just couldn't focus. And then I would panic focus and work for 10 hours straight without eating or sleeping or drinking water or anything like that. So it was kind of one or the other. It was either I wouldn't focus at all or I would hyper focus and the rest of the world would just disappear to the background and there's just the thing that's in front of me. Um, so yeah, now that I have the Ritalin, um, I find myself being able to sit down and focus for bits at a time, but not in a way that feels hyper focusy. So, not in a way that feels uncomfortable. So, if my girlfriend comes and she makes herself a coffee and she chats with me, I don't feel like she's yanked me out of my focus and has disturbed what I'm doing the way that I would if I was hyper focusing on something and someone tries to interact with me. So it's been nice. Um, and I think that we should normalize taking medication to help ourselves achieve things that we want to achieve, not just for the purpose of being what society expects from us, like being a good person or being a productive person, but being and achieving what we want. So for me, I really wanted to be able to sit down a bit more and be able to do a little bit more work because it's already hard enough with all my physical limitations. I needed the psychological, the mental limitations to become a little bit lower so that I could actually get things done sometimes. And for me, it has worked very well. Um, I have a little bit of a worry of, if you start taking something like this, do you become dependent on it? Is it bad for you in any way? All of that stuff. But I've discussed all of that with the psychiatrist, and that's all okay. Um, but that is something to consider for yourself if you are thinking of going on a medication like Ritalin. Um, Honestly, for me, it's been life changing because I really did not know that it's possible for such calmness and such focus to exist in a brain. Um, Everything that's normally a distraction just kind of gets pushed to the background that little bit so that I can actually focus on what's in front of me. But it doesn't get pushed to the background so far that it doesn't exist anymore. It exists, but in a peaceful way. And I have never experienced that before. I've always struggled with concentration. So it's been interesting. And I think we should normalize trying medications like this even as an adult, because you're never too old to try something that might make your life a bit easier. I mean, I'm almost 30. I'm 30 next year, and I've only just tried Ritalin for the first time. Even though I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 16, I believe. It's just not been something I've tried before, and it's something that now has had a profound impact. So I guess now was the right time for me to do this. Yeah. So that's my little rant on Ritalin and on normalizing the use of medication to help yourself. And that's really all I wanted to say. Just, it's never too late to think about what might make your life easier. It's never too late to ask for some help. It's never too late to try new things. And it's okay if you need things to help you. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need that little thing to level up the playing field a little bit. That's how I see it. It's like everyone else is on this level playing field up here, and I was here, and my playing field was covered in like potholes and ridges, and I had to like trip over stuff every time that I tried to do anything. Whereas the other people, they were on a playing field that was perfectly level. And they could just run from one side to the other without any potholes, without breaking their ankles. That's kind of what it feels like. Now I'm bumped up to a field that's also not full of potholes, and it feels good. So, end of rant. If you've been watching and you've watched until now, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one.